Perfect. All right. So we've got a little list of things I want to talk about. First off, thanks for being here. Obviously, this is short notice, 24 hours leeway. So I appreciate you guys being here. Like I said, if you need to hop off at any point, go for it. This will be recorded and posted to everybody. So just a couple things, housekeeping things that are always important that I want to lead off with. Number one, if you've ever talked to me, you've seen all my messages, I always come back to how important communication is, no matter what's going on. And any relationship, if you want it to be successful, communication has to be that foundation of it. And especially something as, intimate as our lifestyles. It's not, I like to compare it. It's not a sports practice. This isn't baseball where you're at for 2 hours and then you get to go home and separate your life from it. This is your entire life. So this is sleep. This is stress management. I mean, it's all inclusive. So there's a lot to communicate on. There's a lot to reflect on. And there's inevitably, when you're dealing with 10 aspects of your life, there's going to be different obstacles. And ultimately, I'm handcuffed if I don't know what's going on. So, the more communication I can get from everybody on anything, even if it's down to like a payment, like, hey, I lost my job, or hey, I'm struggling right now to do this or that. Like, I will always work with everybody. That's where my price points are kind of where they are. Like, I want to be able to work with everybody and work with anybody on whatever their issue is with it. So, if it's a financial need or if it's just any other struggle that you're having, the more I know, the better I can, we can develop that relationship, the more I can help you. Because that's obviously my goal with everybody. Check-ins. So this is something that, throughout my time with TLF, 6-7 years or so, those who are consistent with check-ins, even if they're not perfect from week to week, those who are consistent with them though, are going to be the ones who make the best results and get the best results. And ultimately not just their time with me, but those are the people that I reach out to a year down the road and they're like, yeah, I'm still crushing it. Like, in fact, I've lost 20 more pounds, or, hey, I've put on 5 pounds of muscle, or I'm hitting PRs, whatever the case is. And so I always love those check-ins versus, I'll reach out to somebody a year later and they're like, yeah, I haven't really been doing anything. And those are usually the people that, are inconsistent with their check-ins. And, ultimately when we're not checking in, it's usually for a couple of reasons. We're either been super busy or we struggled that week or those couple of weeks, and we don't want to own up to that. And that's, part of the reason why you came to me is because you're struggling with accountability. You're struggling to be consistent with your habits and stuff. So if we're not doing the one thing I'm asking to do, which is just check in, like, I don't even expect you to have a perfect week. I know you're going to have, shitty weeks here and there, and you're going to miss things, and you're going to struggle with sleep. You're going to have high stress. All that stuff is totally normal, and I'll never be upset about it. But those check-ins are when we can reflect on it. And those check-ins are a time where you shouldn't be hiding from it. If you're hiding from your choices from that week, they're only going to continue, and it's only going to get worse. So, reflection, daily reflection, weekly reflections, that's why we have check-ins, is to reflect on all these aspects of our life. And that's why my check-in, what it used to be was, hey, what's, if you've been here since the start of TLF, which a couple of you guys have, I already mentioned James and Lauren have been with me for a while, our check-in was like, hey, what'd you weigh this week? How did things go? Okay, awesome. Perfect. Here's your changes. Get going with it. Now I've got 11 questions in my check-ins. I'm much more in depth with it. And I want you to think about your life and your health in a much more in depth and focused way. I think something I always compare it to is it's a need. Are you going to pay your bills each month? Are you going to go to work every day? Like, yeah, you're going to do those things because you have to. You have no other option if you want to survive and live and get to do the things you want to do. And what I want everybody to be able to do, not initially, but just over time, is start looking at your health and your habits as that same importance, that same need. Because if we don't do that, then we're not going to do it. If you don't have to pay your bills this month, you're not going to do it. If they said, hey, we don't have to pay it. But if you look at your health as an option, then it's always going to be quit scratching. Sorry. Before this, I was telling everybody that's on here right now that boss has a hot spot and it's infected right now. So I got a cone on him. So I got to monitor all the scratching that he's doing. He's just sitting here so angry looking at me right now. Such a sad dog. But anyway, back on topic. So, essentially just make sure you're checking in. I've went in there and added on reminders the nights before check-ins. And then I've added, obviously the different check-in questions and stuff like that. Some people on here are, check-ins every week. And something I'll come down and talk about in a minute is the TLF Pro, which is tri-weekly check-ins. So those are a little bit harder, obviously, to kind of keep track of because it's not a weekly thing. It's a tri-weekly thing. But again, that's why I put those reminders in there, the nights before check-ins. And ultimately, I've got coaches as well. And I'm looking forward every week for the most part to checking in because I know I'm crossing my T's and dotting my I's with everything that I'm doing. Granted, I've been doing this for a decade of my own life, but I'm pumped for check-ins every week because I know that I am proud of what I've done this week and I want to talk about that. And ultimately, I just like you guys, I hate the weeks where I struggled or I fell off on something. I don't want to admit that, but at the same time, what the hell am I paying a coach for? Not just to say, oh, good job, pat on the back, you did a great job this week. No, I want to, I want that accountability. I want them to help me through whatever it is that I'm dealing with it. So, ultimately it's check-ins are a need. And again, like that is the basis of what you guys are here for, what you're paying me for. It isn't just a diet plan. It's the accountability. It's the guidance. It's the relationship that we can build to push you further with stuff. So, always making sure that we're checking in. Let me check my notes here, making sure I'm not missing anything so far. Another thing, if you're somebody who struggles with checking in, or just missing, like maybe you crushed it this week, which I have, some people that do that as well. Like they crush it every week and then they don't check in. It might be a few weeks or whatever. And they're like, hey, yeah, I've crushed everything the past couple of weeks. I still want check-ins from those people as well. So, if you are somebody who struggles to remember, set an alarm, set an extra alarm on your phone. Me personally, and I was going to talk about this later on in the conversation, but I'll just talk about it now, is I've got a to-do list app. We're all busy. A lot of you guys have kids. A lot of you guys have jobs. I've got 2 jobs, plus I train in person now. And I try to, balance that out with a healthy social life and, date nights with my wife and stuff like that. So I got to live by my to-do list app that I use. But so for instance, like at nighttime, when I get home from work and I'm finishing up my to-dos, I'm looking at, okay, what do I have to do tomorrow? Oh, check-in days tomorrow. Perfect. Lay out my clothes or do whatever I need to do to make sure that I'm ready to do that. And, ultimately with those check-ins, you don't need to check in first thing in the morning on Thursdays. Like I get it. 5 a.m., 6 a.m., 7 a.m. on a Thursday morning, you're busy. You're getting your day going, but it only takes you, a minute to go to the bathroom, a minute to, not even a minute, 10 seconds to hop on the scale, and a minute just to snap a front shot, a side shot, and a back shot, and boom. Then you're done. Then you can post it later on. You can check in later on that day. Wait till lunchtime. Wait till dinner time. Wait till you're done with work, or maybe you're going to bed at Thursday night. And you kind of want to do your reflection then, like whatever works for you then. I allow people to kind of scatter their check-ins a little bit. So I like it when you can check in on Thursday, because that gives me Thursday night or even into Friday. Or sometimes, if I've got the craziest Thursday and Fridays, then it gives me that opportunity to also check in on Saturdays as well. But, ultimately, if you can't do it on a Thursday, do it on that Friday. And worst case scenario, if you missed both of those days, still check in that weekend. If I have time, I'll get to it. If not, I'll get to it on Monday. But just missing check-ins is not beneficial to you or me. All right, so I'll get past that now. Check-ins, communication, obviously those things are huge. Now, a couple things changes for TLF. The main one is, I've tried this. I've tried to implement it here and there, but I never really committed to it. Is weekly Zoom calls. So kind of like what we're doing right now. I want to set up a time that's consistent. Week after week after week, we're going to have this. And if I'm out of town or I'm sick or something else, then we can always adjust that time or that day, or maybe just miss it that week. But for the most part, I want to set up a time that is consistent on the same day, on the same time every week. So you guys know, when you can carve out that time. And if you can make it, fantastic. If not, watch the recordings like you're going to watch on this one right now. But these are check-ins that, I want to dive into the tools I've given you. In terms of, the custom meal planning, or the DIY meal planner. If you haven't checked the TLF Google Drive success folder that I've shared time and time again, if you're relatively new, that's been in your intro message as well. But I've made sure to share that over and over again, so you guys have access to that. A lot of it is stuff I've just kind of accumulated over the years, and kind of built and put together. Some things, it might not look like, ideal. I'm not a graphic designer, so it might not look absolutely perfect, but the information is there though. And just to kind of expand on that, I had one guy who, I set up he was actually looking to sublet our apartment when we were moving out and buying our house. And we were talking about nutrition and diet and workout, stuff like that. And I sent him my intro before he like signed up or anything, just so he could get an idea about what it was all about. And then, a week later, he's like, hey man, sorry, I'm moving right now, so I don't really have the money for it, whatever the case is. And I see him a year or 2 years later at a mutual friend's 4th of July party. And he was like, and first off, he looked 10 times better than what he did when I first met him. And he was like, where you messed up at? He was like, you sent me that TLF intro thing and I read through everything and it gave me everything I needed to know to do it on my own. And he lost, I think, 30 pounds. He was an ex-alcoholic actually as well, but he completely changed his life just off that one document and just by implementing those few things. And I've seen him from time to time again because we're mutual friends with somebody. And, I've given a little bit more, obviously ideas and stuff, but it was awesome to me that he took an intro document that I essentially created on day one of TLF and I've added to it. But he was able to take that. So I want to take, all the information I've given you guys, whether you've read it, or maybe not dissected it, or maybe not really understood it, and kind of dissect that together. But also other topics. I wrote down a list of like 30 different topics that we can talk about within these weekly Zoom calls. And then obviously a Q&A. Like this is a time where you can voice your struggles, you can voice your obstacles and your difficulties that you're having. And I guarantee that, even just on this call, I don't know how many people we have, probably like 10 people or so. Even on this call, I'm sure that if you're dealing with an issue, somebody else is probably dealing with a very, very similar issue. And, it feels nice to know that your issues are not only your issues, that somebody else is having those as well. They might have found a strategy that works, or maybe I found them a strategy that I didn't know you were dealing with the same struggle because it hasn't been communicated. So, this is an open space for that as well. And obviously be as vulnerable if you want, as you're able to. I think this is a safe space for it. We're all here for very, very similar purposes. But yeah, so case in point, Zoom calls, weekly Zoom calls. So right now, kind of what I'm thinking about, and the people that are here in the chat, or if you just want to pipe up and turn your volume on and tell me what your thoughts are on this. But right now, looking at my schedule moving forward, Monday, I train Tuesday nights now. That's all Tuesday night. I'm in the gym until I get home at like 9 o'clock. But so Mondays from 6 to 7 is kind of my hesitant thought, or Wednesdays from 6 to 7. I could also bump that up to like 6:30 to 7:30. I know some people might not get off work till a little bit later. I want it to be a time that, usually we don't have a whole lot of stuff going on Mondays and Wednesdays. It's not Taco Tuesday, unless it's football season and we got the Chiefs playing, or, Monday Night Football. But even then, if we're doing it from 6 to 7 or 6:30 to 7:30, it doesn't really intervene with that as well. So I feel like those 2 days I know are usually going to be open for myself. And those are a decent time to, give me a time to get to the gym and to get home and to hop on this or whatever the case is. So those are kind of the 2 days, Mondays and Wednesdays I'm thinking about. And then, like I said, 6 to 7 or 6:30 to 7:30 are both good times for that as well. So like I said, if you want to pop in the chats right here and say what you're thinking, but I'll also send out like a little survey to the entire community, everybody individual. That way I can get as much feedback on that as possible, because ideally we don't just have 10 people here. I mean, obviously it's going to vary week to week with different schedules and different plans, but I would love to see as many faces on here as consistently as possible. I know there's gonna be some people that are gonna be on here every single week, especially if that time is available for you. And I appreciate that dedication, but even if you can just pop on once or twice and then watch the recordings, that's always good as well. Also, I mentioned this to the people that were on here before I started recording. I won't be able to do this every time because I don't have the money for it, but I did last night. I went on to Underestimated Apparel's website, which is the clothing company that sponsors me. They give me free stuff for the most part, but I went on there, bought a couple of gift cards. I bought a couple of hoodies and some other things, some booty glute bands, and some other stuff as well. And I'll be talking to some other companies as well about, just giving giveaway items essentially. And I don't want to just do that on social media where I just have random followers. I want to do it with you guys. So like I said, I can't promise that every week we're going to do this, but so tonight I do want to give away one of those gift cards. It's just $10, but $10 better than nothing for it though. So people that are here, if you want to, so we got 10-ish people here. So in the comments, I want you to put down And the faster you do it, the better to get your number claimed. If somebody already types in your number, then you can't use that number, obviously. So just in case you're already thinking between 1 to 10, or 1 to 20, I'm going to change it up on you. I want you to give it a number between 25 and 35. Go. And it's just a $10. Oh, Mike, better change it. Already got a 33 on there. 25 and 35. Is that what I said? 25, 35? I think so. There we go. Is that everybody? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6, 7. All right, we got everybody on here. All right. And the number that I had wrote down prior to this was 29. Oh, who was that? All right, James got it. James got that. So James or Lauren, I don't know who typed that in. Oh, James did, looks like. So 29, so you guys got it. So it's just a $10 gift card, like I said. So I will actually, I got it already sent to me via text, so I'll be able to send that to you guys after the fact. Once we get off of here. So I'm gonna put that in my notes right now, right into my to-do list so I don't forget. All right, perfect. And right now they do have a lot of things marked down as well. So that $10 will actually buy you at least one item probably. But anyway, so again, I'll try to do that as often as I can, maybe for different things. And I'll just kind of be a little more thoughtful about that as well. But so I appreciate you guys doing that as well. So a couple more things though, aside from the Zoom calls and things of that nature. Look at my notes here to double check. Okay, so this one I'm just going to talk briefly about. We're actually moving pretty quickly through this. I thought I was going to talk a whole lot more. So last year I tried, this won't pertain to everybody, but last year I tried something new with having the Tlf Pro. So if you've been with me for a handful of years, you know, I used to do paid in full memberships, or not memberships, paid in full plans, you know, for 8 weeks or 12 weeks or 16 weeks. I think I had a year one as well in there. And essentially you had to pay up front. And then I switched over to memberships, which I think has been awesome for myself and the business. It's also made it very, you know, much more affordable, just, you know, month to month. You can plan for it. You can actually fit it into your budget and not be surprised with, hey, your plan's done. You know, here, this is the price to re-up. So, you know, I changed the membership and I think that's been great for everybody, for myself and for all clients. And then you still obviously have the option there to do paid in fulls for 6 months and 12 months. But the Tlf Pro was an option that, you know, it kept it still affordable. The downside to the Tlf Pro is that it's a tri-weekly check-in. And this is probably the most common one just because it's that middle tier, you know, middle of the road price with it. But with tri-weekly check-ins, you know, I wanted to try this out and I'm happy I tried it out because that was obviously the thought that I had. But ultimately, you know, tri-weekly check-ins are tough. So I won't change anybody. Everybody that is on whatever payment you're on, you are grandfathered on that for as long as you stay with me. You could be with me for the next 20 years. We could go through this recession we got coming or whatever the hell is going on with it. And, you know, everything's going to go up, but your price won't go up. So I'll always maintain that. Now, obviously, if you left and came back, then you'd be doing the new payments with that. But so just letting you guys know, I won't change anybody's pricing structure. However, for any new clients, if you have friends that are looking to join and things of that nature, if you were to leave and come back at this point, that Tlf Pro option is going to be off the table. And the main reason why, and if you're on the Tlf Pro, if you're on this currently, or if you are watching recording, you might kind of recognize some of the things I'm going to say right now. It's tough to have that check-in and then say, okay, here's what you got to do the next 3 weeks. Especially if we're doing something like a reverse diet, or if we're just normally just cutting. It is tough to, you know, for me to give that guidance of, hey, do this week, but then you got 2 more weeks after that. So then, you know, it's tough for me to give that extra guidance. It's also tough for you, especially what happens if you're struggling? What happens if you had a tough week and you need to talk about it? You know, first off, I always say that, hey, I don't care what plan you're on, always let me know and communicate your struggles with me. But ultimately, I get it. Like if your check-ins aren't on those days, whatever, you might feel like, oh, I'll just wait till check-in day. But I don't want you going, longer than a couple of days without communicating whatever the struggle is, let alone 3 weeks. And then again, for especially my people that are reverse dieting, which I do want to kind of chat about here in just a second, and the importance of that. And maybe I won't talk about it too much. Maybe that'll be one of our first actual Zoom calls that we talk about reverse dieting, because it's that important. It's one of the most important things. But given the basis of what I'm talking about right now, I want to make weekly check-ins with that, or I want to make weekly changes with that. So for instance, if you ever done the reverse diet with me, if your weight maintains, we want to increase calories that following week to ramp up that metabolism, get your maintenance calories up to a higher level. I always word it as, if I could say that you would maintain your weight and your physique, but you get to eat double the food, I don't know what, especially American, would say no to that. I think we all want to eat more food without the negative side effect of fat gain or weight gain with that. But ultimately with reverse diet, you can. It's not doubling your food in a day, but it's doubling your food over the course of time. Maybe not doubling, but just increasing what you can eat and giving you a little bit more dietary freedom. I know for me, and I know for a lot of people, maybe a Lenny Larry's cookie, if you haven't had it before, complete cookies are delicious, but they have 50 or 60 grams of carbs. So, if you're on a lower carb diet at the moment, or currently cutting, it's tough to fit that in without removing a lot of other stuff from your food. But if we reverse dieted you and you had 200 grams of carbs, or 250, or for some of my clients, 400 to 500, 60 grams of carbs is just a drop in the bucket. It's not a big deal. So that's why that reverse diet is key. But so back to kind of that TLF Pro, it's tough for me to make that adjustment. It's tough for you to make that adjustment for those times. So just know that that's changing, kind of moving forward with that. But again, whatever you're on is what you'll stay on, unless you want it to change for any reason. But aside from all of that, we've got, about 14 minutes. I think we have about 14 minutes till this time expires on this. So right now, just, for the people that are on here, I want to open the floor to you guys. Do you have any questions, any thoughts, any concerns, any struggles, anything, any big wins that you've been experiencing? Please don't be shy. Obviously, the more interaction I get from you guys, the better this is all going to go. I get it's our first time kind of being on here together, but if you have anything to say, here's the floor. I'll mute myself.
I was going to say, looping back to what you said about check-ins, is that I copy paste the questions into my iPhone notes and fill them out on Wednesdays, because invariably on Thursdays, like, you want to say whatever you want to say really detailed, and then you get interrupted and you're not finished, and then the day escapes you, and then you go back to finish it and you feel like you're already late, and then you're kind of rushing, and maybe your thoughts aren't as elaborate as you want them to be. So like, writing everything down on Wednesday was a game changer for me to really get them submitted and feel like I'm saying what I want to say on Thursdays in a timely fashion.
I love that. That's a great strategy that you're doing with it, because you're still going to weigh in on Thursday. You still might snap your pictures on Thursday, so you're still getting that full 7-day rotation with it. But everything you're going to see on Thursday morning would be same thing as Wednesday night, given you had the time for it. So that's a perfect way to do it. And then you can always update in the morning if you feel a different way. But you have the time on that day to do that. And then, that also gives me the opportunity then to get back to you on Thursday generally, given that I have the time to do it as well. And, just to kind of bounce off that, obviously you guys all know that I'm a, full-time elementary school PE teacher, still doing summer school right now. So, if I could get back to you instantly, I would. And then obviously, if I have something to do on Thursday night and I can't get the check-ins, that is why sometimes it does get pushed off till Friday or Saturday. But I do try to be as timely on those as possible. I recognize a lot of people are going to go grocery shopping and meal prepping on Saturdays and Sundays. So I always try to get those done in that timely fashion for you guys as well. But yeah, Krista, that's a great idea. That's perfect. Definitely. And that works for you, and that keeps you locked in, and you're still doing that self-reflection, and you're not having to rush it, like you said, rush right out the door. So that's, I love that. I love that. Anybody else have anything at the moment? And obviously don't feel obligated. If you don't have anything to say, then no worries whatsoever. I got a few other things we can chat about. All right. He's got the warning that we got 10 minutes left, just so you guys know. And if not, then I'll talk. Just pause me if you think of anything else that you want to, you have a question about, or anything else you want to chat about. But I'll talk about, two other things briefly, and I think we're going to do, full on Zoom calls about these down the road. But a couple things, macro tracking and the importance of that, especially when you're just starting off your journey with me or journey with all this stuff. The reason why it's important is because it's going to teach you the value of the food that you're eating. What's in the food. If you've never looked at a nutrition label, outside of like calories, you don't really know the value of the food that you're eating. You don't really know what's all in it. And if you're not really mindful of that and actually looking at those nutrition labels, you're never really going to learn it. And when I say the value of food, I think about it in terms of this right here. And I say Pringles because Nicole got the other day when we went and saw a movie, and that's why I obviously had some Pringles. But so I think it's like 16 grams of Pringle, or 16 Pringles is 150 calories, and it's like 9 grams of fat. So looking at it in this right here, I mean, Pringles are good. I love Pringles. 16 is not enough to like satisfy you though, because it's calorie dense, but it's not nutrient dense. You're getting nothing in it that's going to fill you up. You're getting nothing in it that's quality or that's of value for your body or your health. So not that you shouldn't eat Pringles, but if you think about it in terms of this, that's 150 calories, or better yet, let's just call it 10 grams of fat for an easy number here. If it's 10 grams of fat for 16 Pringles, and you're on a diet plan, and ideally your fat shouldn't really go over about 25%, maybe 30%, depending on who you are, of your total calories. So if I have you at 60 grams of fat, that's, 10 of your 60 grams of fat. And me personally, I don't think 16 Pringles is going to be worth mine. It might be to you. If Pringles are your that's your shit, then yeah, 10 grams of fat from Pringles, perfect. I might use 30 of it. But me personally, that's not going to be worth it. I want to have some eggs later on, or I want to have some ground turkey with my meal later on. And maybe I don't want a third meal of chicken. So, which is what I would have to do if I had that higher fat chip or whatever the case is. So just looking at it from a daily, standpoint and food standpoint is, I want to know the value of what I'm eating. And then I can make an educated decision of, is this worth my 150 calories or my 10 grams of fat? If you're on a diet plan, you're cutting and you're only getting, 150 or 1500 calories, is 16 Pringles really worth 10% of what you're eating that day? And it very well might be. Like I said, if you love Pringles, then it very well might be. But to me, that wouldn't be a good use of my calories. If I'm only eating 1500 calories, I'm gonna be hungry, and I want to maximize all of that. I want to get as much in that's going to satiate me and that's going to fuel my body the way I need it to be. Because otherwise, let's say, because you're probably not just going to have 16 of those Pringles, you're probably going to have 32 of those Pringles, or maybe even more of that. And now that's 20 grams. Quit scratching. That's 20 grams of your fat if you had just 2 servings of Pringles. So now you just used 33% of your daily allotment for fat on something that didn't fill you up, didn't give you any energy, didn't help out your hormones, didn't help out your gut. And so just looking at, Jesus, dude. Look at such a sad boy. Such a sad boy. But anyway, so back to what I'm saying, it's tracking your macros. The reason why it's important is because you can learn the value of food. You don't have to do it permanently. You don't have to do it permanently. Me now, it's very simple. I track my macros usually on Monday. I know what I'm going to eat the whole week, and then I'm consistent with that. I might go back and retrack if I need to see exactly what those meals consisted of. But for the most part, I'm going to be very consistent with what I'm eating anyway. And then I have that. And then I can go back in there and log those foods if I'm going to mix it up. For instance, tonight, maybe I want to have Kodiak cake pancakes in place of my egg meal with toast. Good, easy swap for me. So then I can go adjust those as well. But if I'm not used to track my macros, I don't know what the hell I'm doing then. And I don't know what is going to be a good replacement for what. So, I know there's some people maybe in this 10-person group right here, or definitely within the Tlf community, that have been with me for a year, haven't tracked their macros once. And ultimately, I love it if you can follow a diet plan, but are you going to follow that same diet plan for the next 5 years? Or are you going to be reliant upon me to, anytime you want to change what you're eating, to ask me for a new diet plan? Like, no, that's probably not what you want. And so ultimately, if you're not learning the value of what it is that you're eating and learning how to substitute things and make adjustments on your own with this stuff, then you are handcuffing yourself. to either a diet plan or eventually just saying, for lack of a better term, fuck it, I'm done. I'll just go back to eating whatever I was eating before all this. Well, that's what the average person does when they start a new diet, or they start this fad diet, or they do this detox, or whatever the case is. You're short-term changing what you're doing for whatever result, maybe on the scale or physique that you want, but you're not truly making changes to your mindset or changes to your habits or changes to your routines, because you look at it as a short-term fix. And that's why all those people that do that, I'm sure a lot of you here have done that as well, it doesn't stick. You gain that weight right back because you never truly establish habits and routines. Quit. I'm on a Zoom call. Anywho, so there's my 2 cents on that. Like I said, we'll do, there you go, Mike McKean, eating Kodiak cakes right now. And I don't recall if that's on his diet plan or not, but I'm sure he probably tracked that in his macros and figured it out to make it work. Mike's one of those guys who has done a successful reverse diet. Dexter on here as well has done a successful reverse diet. I know James has in the past as well. And those guys, they go from cutting at 2,000, maybe 2,500 calories. And I know Mike and Dexter and James probably have all been up to 4,000 calories without gaining any weight from that. And it's just those gradual additions. So again, we'll talk about reverse diets. We'll talk more about, how to track your macros and the importance of it. And maybe I'll create nice PowerPoints that we can kind of work through together. But anyway, like I said, I appreciate you guys all being on here. If you're watching recording of this, I appreciate your time recording this as well. I will try to make little notes on there. I guess I don't even need to say that for those people, because I'll say this in my message whenever I post this, but I'll make a little note. So for you guys, future reference, I'll make little notes about timestamps of when I talked about what, ideally, so when to jump to what makes sense for you to listen to. But anyway, though, I'll stop talking now. If you guys have anything else, we got 2.5 minutes left. If you don't have anything, then I'll hop off. But otherwise, the floor is your guys' for the next few minutes.
Yo, it's Dexter. Can you hear me? Can you see me?
Yeah, I can hear you and see you.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I love seeing everybody's progress, and everybody's out here killing it. So I'm proud of everybody, and just keep doing your thing. You know what?
Yeah, hell yeah, man. I appreciate that. It's awesome ever since Dexter, because you started with me initially. I think we talked about it here recently, and you struggled with it. You didn't really stick to too much. I think you did one of those paid in fulls, just like a little chunk of time, and then hopped off and never re-upped with it, and then came back to me. I don't know what, maybe a year after that. And it's awesome because when Dexter checks in, he still keeps a track of what week he's on. So I think you're up to week 70s or 80s or 90s or something like that right now. Yeah. So that's always cool to see exactly what week you're on. And I can say that, there's a lot of people that have never missed a check-in. But you're definitely one of those guys who's never missed check-in. And then you go look at your results and you look at the actual lifestyle change you've truly solidified in your life. And you're like, okay, well, consistency played a giant role in that. It wasn't like you just flipped the switch and all of a sudden got good at it. You were just consistent with those check-ins. You were consistent with all that stuff. And then, that brings you to where you are now.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate you, man. Thanks for your input as well, dude. Anybody else? If not, I will be going on a live here at 8:00 with Caleb, the owner of Body Shop as well. And we're going to talk about the basics to fat loss. But before I get cut off, again, I just want to say thank you so much. James, I'll send you that coupon or the gift card, excuse me. And again, thank you all. I'll keep you posted on our next Zoom call, and we'll start planning that as well. But you guys have a good night.
Thanks, Marcus.
See you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, man. Have a good one.
You too.